JW Marriott, Hotel Bangalore. Welcome to this evening, and let us have a huge round of applause as we start of the 5th edition of the Hotelier India Presents GM Summit, Southern Region, powered by Havells Crabtree Automation and Controls. Can you have a round of applause? Come on. Thank you so very much. Thank you. I would now like to call on stage the man who makes all these events possible, the ever energetic and fun. Please put your hands together as I welcome Managing Director of ITP Media India for the welcome address, Mr. Vibhor Srivastava. Welcome, Vibhor.
Good evening, a very warm welcome. And I know I'm going to not talk too long this evening as much as I wanted, because our friend Nirupa has an evening flight to catch. So, but just a big thank you from all our partners. And it's great to see, on a weekday, a hall and all hoteliers, you look very sharp and bright and nice, and how much we love you and like you, and how much you have really showered your love to make Hotelier India the #1. So let this evening to be a great evening to celebrate, because we've gone through real, harrowing times, but it's great to be here. If you look last year and this season too, it smells different, it breathes different, looks different, and is full of great excitement, positivity, and a lot to unfold as we work together. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. And I'm giving the stage to some of our finest speakers who are here this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vibhor. Moving on, I would now like to call on stage the speakers of the power panel driving shareholder value in the new world order to talk about leadership, people management, people engagement, and growth and development strategies. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together as I call them on stage. Mr. Gautam, CEO, Green Park Hotels and Resorts. Ms. Nirupa Shankar, Joint Managing Director, Brigade Group. Mr. Vikram Kota, Chief Executive Officer, GRT Hotels and Resorts. Mr. Zaid Tariq, Executive Director, Pearson and Hospitality Prestige Group. And our session moderator, Mr. Vijay Thakkar, Director, Howard India. Welcome to the lady and the gentleman.
A request, please, if maybe the lights can be turned down a little bit. Otherwise, we'll be all sort of frowning. Yeah, we'll get 10. No, probably not, but this is Bangalore. Okay, thank you for joining this panel, to all of you, and thank you for all of you to be here. This session is for you, so we're going to try and keep it open that you can even ask questions. Hopefully, before there's a... Great, we are done. Time's up. Okay, we quit? Okay. So the session is about sort of driving shareholder value in the new world order. And I'm going to change that a little bit. I'm going to replace shareholder by stakeholders. But I think let's start by getting a view from everybody. Very quick. How do you define value? What is your definition or one or two measures of value? Come on, Vikram.
So according to me, value creation is not a short-term view or a short-term perspective. It's always a long-term perspective. Most people think that value means revenues, top lines, operating profits. But value has a lot more to it. I mean, I think more than the financials, the stakeholders, obviously the investors, are interested in the financial outcomes, but there are more stakeholders in the hospitality industry. So you have the community where the social
I think
impacts.
let's get to that a little bit later.
Okay.
Give me a definition of value. What are the two parameters you use to define value or to measure value?
So the value, I mean, the two metrics, I think what we would use is the brand value to the entire thing, how the people look at it as a brand, and what social impact that company has on the community and on the world in general. So
Okay,
that's value.
and that's for GRT hotels.
Yeah.
Not for the Radissons that you have.
No.
Nirupa, what about you?
Okay, so I'm an economics student. So my definition of value is something people are willing to pay money for. If you ask me what is value, it's even in the world of economics, it's what somebody is willing to pay for. But of course, if you don't wear an economics hat, then value is something that somebody is willing to cherish if they're not willing to pay for. So that's the intangible aspect of it.
So when you say people are willing to pay for, I would look at it in two measures. One is the price that they would pay for using your asset. And second is maybe an acquisition price that somebody would pay if they want to buy the asset.
Yeah, and I said something, the intangible part is something that somebody would cherish. So sometimes you can't put a price on certain things. So those are the things that I would say that are the intangibles aspects. So something that somebody would cherish that you can't put a value on. So like goodwill and things like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's why sometimes hotels get that additional value or should get that additional value for various reasons. Iconic hotels, iconic locations, design, whatever. Zed, what about you?
When we talk about value, I always think of what a property gives back to its customer. What do we give to guests? How do we look at the metrics of what the guest has actually got from us? And what perception the property is to others? Not only the guest, but some people even think, can we go close to the property because it has a certain value, a certain definition which says, am I going to be allowed over there? We always see how it's going to be more relaxed, but then two things on values. One is the customer needs, the customer focus, and the perceived creation of the property, not the value, the creation.
Gautam, you
Yeah, I
have
mean,
the last word on this.
If I were to use a single way to describe value is exceeding expectations. I mean, when I use customer as a stakeholder, I mean, our endeavor would always be that we exceed the expectations of his experience, right? So he comes with a set of expectations for every context, every brand, every location. They all come with a certain expectation. I think our endeavor in terms of value creation is exceeding that expectation.
Yes, but then, that has to be very dynamic because if I take the various measures that all of you have given, customer satisfaction, what is the customer willing to pay, society satisfaction, ultimately setting that expectation is also part of the value creation or value measurement effort. If you don't have the expectation set at a position and then a higher position and then a higher position, the growth of value does not occur. Now, whose responsibility is that to set that expectation and to grow that expectation?
I think the value creation for different stakeholders is very different. So for an investor, value creation is something else.
What is that?
So for an investor, obviously the value creation is returns on his investment. What are the financial outcomes and wealth creation at the end of the day? For a brand operator, I think the value is something else. I mean, he's trying to put in as many hotels as possible on the map. So he's looking at.
It is also value creation to his own shareholder in terms of
Exactly.
number of hotels.
Exactly.
And that may or may not be in sync with the owner's expectation.
True.
Right?
True. And
Okay.
for the employee, it is completely different. I mean, he's looking at job satisfaction, job security, his lifestyle. And for a hotel asset manager, it might be something different. For the community, it will be different. So value creation can't be spoken in the same tone with everybody.
True, but whose responsibility, whose prime responsibility is it to set the value goals? Nirupa, you'd like to take that?
Yeah, so if we look at it from a hotel perspective, right? If you look at a hotel, there are these four aspects. There's a product, place, people, and price. So from a product and a place perspective, it's the owners or the developer's responsibility to find the right location to set up the right product. And then if you, and there's value creation in that. And if it's, if I look at it from the operator's perspective, then it's the price and the people aspect of it. So obviously there's a people element to it. There's the price element, like what experiences you give, etc., will determine what price you're able to command and what value you're able to get. Of course, the third element, I'm not looking into employees and stuff now, but of course, the person funding the project will also add some value, but I'm not getting into that because I think here we're just owner developer, owner operator talking. So I would say out of the 4 Ps, 2 belong to the developer and 2 belong to the operator.
And actually both have a say in the other as well, because sometimes the developer role is sort of forced, the hand is forced because a brand puts or a chain puts its certain standards and demands.
Yeah.
While the owner should be able to drive the price piece or even the people's aspect of the business. So there is that interlay, but yes, the leadership is broken between these two. Zaid, would you agree with that?
I would agree. At the same time, I would disagree as well. Because when you say value creation, I would say, look at it, property view. What value can a property give to its guest? How do you create value after a property is built? Yes, in the beginning, it can be owner and management driven, but then it can be even guest driven as well. What is the guest looking for? Is it only location, easy access? Are we looking only at a comfortable bed to sleep on, or do we give them more services? Every service will add some sort of value to the guest. Now, if you look at luxury and select services, it's completely different. In luxury, you can always say, I want to add, for example, a fine dining restaurant, or I would like to add more laundry to the customer, or I just add in some breakfast and the customer is happy. But if I look at select service, you will not be able to give that much offering. But I would say taking care of the customer from check-in to check-out will make the difference. So that will be value as well.
And I know this is a very fine line and a very difficult line to talk about, but a customer expectation on price versus service versus an owner's need or let's say an owner's need for price versus service can be different.
Yeah.
Where do you bring that balance? And who brings that balance?
So you always say price value for money. And there's even time value for money. So for the customer, it is a time he checks in to check out, it's his time value for the money is paid. The management has to decide what they're going to give to that customer in that time period. There's always the customer who says he's right and will keep pushing for more. But you have to draw a level line and say, this is what we can give them. And explain to them that this is what is possible for the amount they pay.
Sure.
So we need to balance it.
Can I come in on that?
Please, anybody come in. This is a free chat.
So I think the value or price is nothing to do with the product or the price. It's only the perceived value of the customer. And at the end of the day, whatever customer buys, he's not buying that product, what he does to it. He always buys the product, what means to him. So it's a more profound human need, which is trying to fulfill rather than just going and buying. It's not a transaction when he's buying, especially a service. So I think we have to look at value in those terms. I think it's a more deeper, more higher kind of a perspective which we have to get into when we are talking about value. Because selling and buying is not just selling and buying. It has to do with emotion. It has to do with human needs. That's why the Maslow's, whatever the triangle he made, and it has been proven again and again and again. I don't know if everyone agree on that.
That's a very good point.
I would think if I mean, maybe re-articulate the whole thing, right? I think it starts with the developer at a fundamental level. He's taking a financial decision on choosing a hotel, its positioning, and the amount of money he's going to put in. He sets the full boundaries. So all other stakeholders at a certain level, his choice of operator, his choice of staff, everything has to be aligned with that. So I think they're not at a certain level. The single largest and the most profound decision is taken at the developer level. Everything else has to be aligned. They can't be disjointed. So a developer chooses a certain price point. I think it's the operator's role to deliver that guidelines. Otherwise, they have no business to be doing business together. And I think that sets the tone for the type of customer he wants and setting the expectation for that customer only. You can't obviously meet every type of customer's needs, but I think the developer defines that boundaries and everything has to get aligned.
If I was to sort of restate that a little bit, it's the project and the project investment that must therefore define how the business is going to work. Because I'm not always convinced, and present company accepted, that all the owners necessarily have the fullest sense of what service and pricing is all about. For them, it could be more a question of ROI. And I'm sure all of you as general managers have had to push back sometimes pull along as to what that balance is. So yes, the investment drives that because the investment has to fructify. And that's where the need for a proper branding, a proper operator selection does come in, and the continued engagement on the two sides. But I think to sum it up, what we are saying is that it's a balance between value creation in terms of the return that an owner gets through the business that he gets, but then the business that he gets is from the satisfaction that he gives to the customer, or his operator gives on his behalf to the customer. And therefore the customer values that satisfaction well, and that satisfaction in turn becomes the value for the owner in terms of the money. Yes,
I think one of the main stakeholders is the general managers. I think they play a very big role because mostly the hotels which are not run by the investors, where they have a general manager and a brand, I think the main value creation is done by the general managers and his team. So they are the people who are going to create your future values. So when do we talk about value? When you want acquisition or when you want to disinvest? That's when you really talk about value.
No, I think value is talked about and should be talked about every day.
Should be talked about, but rarely we hear this leadership today talking about value or value creation.
Okay, so
It's
I'm
only
gonna ask a
short term.
question
Yeah.
here. I'm going to ask a question here, but before I do that, Nirupa, you wanted to come in, please come in.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say that what you were saying about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, everybody wants to feel important, right? So whether you're at a budget hotel or a luxury hotel, you can create a lot of value for a customer if you make them feel important. And that's what people want to feel most of the time, that they're being seen, they're being heard. So you can be at a Formula One and hotel, and still if, you know, the front desk knows you, they call you by your name, they make you feel important. There's a lot of value creation there too. So what somebody is willing to pay for, and maybe you can get that little extra when you create good experiences. So there's a value to intangibles as well, is what I wanted to just put forward. And I agree with you that the GMs are the captains of the ship. And one question all of us owners often get asked is, which brand would you choose and why for your hotels? And I always say, you know, it's only 30% of the brand, but I believe it's a good 50% comes from the GM who's operating that product, because the brand, the corporate office might have certain policies and procedures and a brand value. But I think what the GMs are able to deliver on ground is actually creates 50% of success apart from the product and other things and location and all that. So I think everybody here, they need to be talking about value creation. And, you know, I think we should sort of
Yeah, I'm
move the
gonna-
questions.
Yeah,
there.
I'm going to make a very unpopular statement from this side of the of the audience. You will all like it, that I think my general view is that as stakeholders, as we've now recognized them as such important stakeholders, the GMs don't get adequately compensated. Am I right? Okay. Don't get adequately compensated. But tell me, as GMs, the question on sort of how often do you recognize value? Do you talk about value virtually every day? Or do you talk about value? And I'm distinguishing between value and values. We've got corporate values, personal values, business values. Those are different. I'm talking about value creation. How often do you talk about that? Do you talk about that every day in your morning meetings? Do you talk about that in the monthly budget discussions? Yes.
We have an extra one.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think one of those things, what you said is correct. We actually talk it every day and every briefing. For us, value creation is about increasing the average room rate, increasing the average check, and it's all about creating that additional things which we can do to kind of get people to spend more. So in that way, we add value to pretty much everything what we touch.
And what about the satisfaction index that my colleagues talked about?
We are rated I think every single hotel today is rated very heavily on their Medallia scores or Revenant scores and sentiment of the guests. That's eventually what's going to bring the guests back. A lot of hotels, especially a lot of brands have the loyalty programs. But then there are a lot of hotels who don't have loyalty programs, and they have to depend on what they do and what they do for the customers to get things going.
Yes, and that I guess that is a good challenge, a healthy challenge, rather than just having the sort of the loyalty program running the whole, the whole reservation engine. So that is good. But it's good to know that at least some of you are saying that you're talking about the value every day. Now, maybe you're talking about that from the point of view of the revenues and the profits, or the GOP or the expense controls. But it might be encouraging for you to look at a wider concept of value and the various definitions of value that have come out here, the intangibles, the tangibles, the societal aspect, and create your own definition of value. And then, yes, please, at the back. You don't mind this open discussion, right?
Yeah, hi. I'm adding a GM's perspective. I think the key role of a GM is to create value for all these stakeholders. And from the GM's point of view, an asset which is, there is an investor, there is a brand. So the key asset for a GM, key stakeholders for the GM would be definitely the investors, the brand, the colleagues, and partners or vendors. So it's the primary role of the GM to balance it out and create.
And the customers, obviously.
Customers also, yeah, obviously, customers is one of the key stakeholders. So we have to create value for everybody, and that's I think the only role. Each and everything, whatever we do, we try and create value at every stage. From everything, that's the key role of the GM.
That's good. The question is, how often do you measure that in the context of value?
Everything is measured. Numbers are measured. Performance criteria is measured. Guest satisfaction is measured. Everything is measured. We are measured all the time. We are measured by the brand. We are measured by the owners. We are measured by our employees.
Do you set a definition of value for yourself? Maybe that's something you want to think about. Okay, that setting a criteria of value for yourself, for your hotels, maybe in conjunction with your owners, with your operator, whoever, with your brand. I think that might be useful. But
Sir, can I just take this one, just to labor on this, right here, Mr. Thakkar?
Yes.
Somebody, can I? Hi, good evening, sir. Sir, as a general manager perspective view, whatever we get a product, it is our prime responsibility to sell it and get the best value out of it. And value comes from the culture. There are certain aspects of value as discussed by the eminent speakers here. But from general manager's point of view, you can only make your team get this value when there's a culture developed in the hotel.
That's a very important word
So
you used.
from morning to night, I think we need to show this by the culture to our team, because as a general manager, if we perform, our team needs to perform. They need to understand this value, what this value mean. So if you get it into culture of the organization, I'm sure it is possible to achieve.
Very
What do you
good.
think,
The
sir?
word culture is important because having that deep within the organization and having a balance between the value expectations of owners, investors, operators, various stakeholders, society, all of that, then that value awareness is something that's very critical. But let me twist this a little bit. Is it necessary sometimes, and maybe this happens more at luxury hotels or at boutique hotels, that you set a value to your product and then say, this is the value, come and enjoy it, or pay for it at that price, but come and enjoy it. And we will give you a defining experience, rather than letting the market forces set price and value. Is it sometimes the case of setting that value? And that will be not just a small increase, it will be major increase. If your market is at $200 and you're going in and putting in something at a $500, saying, this is what I am. It's not for everybody, but come in, enjoy it. Is that value as well?
So, can I come? Yeah, if I could, go back to what I said earlier, right? It's always, every price point has an expectation, right? So if you made your choice to say, I'm $1,000 room, but the guest has to feel he would pay $2,000 for this, and if he sees good value at $1,000. I think at a certain level for every positioning, it's about us exceeding that expectation. And at a certain level, it also is in the context of what is options. Have you found an unique proposition where you can still give them value at whatever price you want to charge? I think you're successful. I think getting that clarity, being confident.
And the reason I raised this was not in an abstract way. You know, for the longest time, all of us fretted over the fact that the ADRs in India were very low. Strangely, the pandemic has helped to create a good re-rating of our assets. The fundamental rate levels have moved up. Yes, some of the extreme rates that we are getting or have got in recent times may change a little bit, may correct, but we still have that re-rating. So the question is, do we put enough value to our assets rather than let discounts and market flows decide what we should be earning?
Nirupa, can I?
Yeah, so I'd started off by saying like value is what somebody is willing to pay for it, right? So if you can command whatever price you want because of that exclusive experience, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes for you to be able to do that. If you have to consistently charge or be able to get customers to pay double of what the market is paying, there's a lot that has to go behind the scenes, creating good experiences, delivering more than what just delivering the unspoken needs of the customer. So there's a lot that has to happen, and that's where the value creation is. So I think when we talk about, what were you exactly asking about the?
You know, the fact that we haven't often put enough value on our own assets.
Yeah.
And let market forces
Yeah.
dictate discounts.
Yeah. So even in terms of the value of the asset, sometimes you create a hotel which is not easily replaceable because of the location. Like if it's a city center hotel, it's not easily replaceable. Or if it's in the middle of the mountain somewhere and you can't get access to those views, when you create something not easily replaceable, then you also create a lot of value.
But you can do that in the city as well.
You can. So I said city center properties, and I think consistently we've seen some brands charge way above the market, but they're also ready to say, I won't give it at a lower price. Whoever wants to come only has to come. So they'd rather run an empty restaurant than give it at a certain lower price. And that's that's the premiumness they want to add, and that maybe works for them. And, so I think, like I said, what somebody is willing to pay for and all the experiences and the intangibles also go into that.
And Zaid, I'll ask you this question. What is the role between the owner and the operator in achieving that balance? I think Nirupa said it right, that I will sell at a price below this. I will not sell and let it go empty, but this is the value I'm placing on myself. So where does that, who drives that? Is it the owner? Is it the operator? Is it the balance?
I
What?
would say it's a balance between the owner and the management, right? The operator. And every time we step forward, we always talk about value and what value can be created. So first, as Nirupa said, whether it's city center hotel or outside the city, the main thing is getting the right people to run the place, getting the right set of people, selecting the right. No, you can't say only the GM, but the complete team has to be in sync with each other. They have to understand what language is being spoken throughout the property. And value is something I'd say has to be spoken every minute, and everybody's mind has to say, whether it's from the GM or from the owners, the first thing people say is how much more money I can make in a day. What is the revenue stream coming in? But then when the customer gets in, his values are mainly intangible because he can't see the services he's getting. I would say a few things like, giving him a very comfortable bed comes back for it. Nowadays, people are looking for the internet to be working seamlessly. That's also creating a lot of value. And you're actually paying for different perceived services. It's only perception, because no one, as you said before, no one is buying a product. All you're getting is something that you can't see.
So I guess the question that comes out of this, and I know everybody does it in a different manner, sometimes informally, but obviously for each asset, you have to set what are the key value generators for that asset. And to what extent is that the responsibility of the hotel management, the operator? Who should take that role and set those goals?
I'll say it's, working together, working with the operator, the management, the ownership. They said all the stakeholders have to work as a team, including making sure the suppliers supply the right item to the property. Then when you look at it, the other side, the government is also dictating a lot of terms. Then you have your individual, I would say, investors as well. They are looking at only at return on investment. We need to have a fine balance of working with everyone to make sure the customer in the end gets what they're looking for. And then we have to set different values for different properties. We can't give the same everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would say it's a mixed bag in the end. And we always have to come out seeing how the property is a winner. Only if the property is a winner, everybody wins together. So we need to make sure, I would say again, create value for the customer and for the local community, because local community is going to get jobs, the government is going to dictate terms, and then we have to find balance between the management, the ownership, and the hotel team to make sure you get the next customer walking in.
Gautam, I'm going to ask you this. Do you think this fine balance, or how often do you think this fine balance is even reasonably achieved? I mean, you'll never make it perfect or on a consistent basis, but how often is that even reasonably achieved?
It is an extreme challenge, right? I mean, I think structurally our industry has been capital inefficient, right? And that sets a very high pressure on all the other stakeholders, the whole value chain. So it's been, it's a perpetual tug of war, if I can use the word. And we like it or not, pricing is also a function of market. We'd like to say I'm the best service provider, but a market also adds a layer of complexity to it. So I'd probably like to say that the pricing you can do is a function of 4 or 5 subsets: location, the brand, the service, and the service. I mean, we talked about it in the context of talking with our teams, right? The general manager is the ambassador of the hotel. So while he could do he will probably contribute to 30-40% of the value creation that I said. Location does, and how much you spent on the project itself. So it's a complex, if I could use a
And
word,
let's say,
vocabulary.
let's say an operator makes you spend a certain amount on the project to meet a brand standard and then says, well, you spend that money. I never promised a return on that. How does that work? I'm
I
sure
think,
all of you have heard that at some point.
yeah, so I would like to answer that separates a good developer from a bad developer. I think the developer has to own this problem. It's very easy to say, I was misguided. I mean, we put investors' money. So
I think that's a very important
I
point,
think
that
we
you have
need
to take that responsibility.
we need to own that. And as I heard in one of these forums, right? I mean, operator is a toolkit. It's a very complex, powerful toolkit. It's for the developer to use the toolkit well.
Yes,
And
yes.
I think it's very true. And it's very easy for the operator to say, I just give the money now. Somebody's going to solve my problem. I think I have to be a lot more realistic with that.
So let's look at the OTAs. Please go ahead.
Disagreeing with the statement saying that spending money makes a good product. Yep. I would say you rather spend less money, but finish a product well, place in the market, and then see what the customer comes back
Absolutely.
into.
I totally agree.
Because it's easy to say we spent, but whose money have we spent? So there has to be a balance in saying, this is what we budget. Look at our return on investments. As Mr. Tucker will say, always please do a study beforehand, understand the market, then go ahead and spend. But more than spending, again, I say, let's look at finishing a product right, opening the property right, and let's not rush to open a property. It might take a few extra weeks or months, but once it's open to the customer, things cannot be changed.
Vikram?
Can I come on this, because I think the audience is also general managers. I think we place too much emphasis on price when we talk about value. I think we need to take out the price from the equation, especially in hospitality and post-COVID hospitality, where people want these experiences. Why do people buy a Rolex instead of a Swatch? There's a human need for it. I mean, there's a human need of a status. He wants to be known. He wants to be seen wearing a thing. Why does somebody go to a place like Pondicherry or a thing? Because he wants to feel that he went to a very unique location and he's experiencing something different. So I think it's very important that when we talk about value, when you're talking about selling, we should take the price out of the equation, because it's very important for general managers, because we are only talking about ADRs, ARRs, what's the next guy doing, what is the market. I think we need to go into the blue ocean, and it's not something new I'm talking about. Certain groups have been doing this fantastically. They have the most minimum of facilities in their properties, but they're enjoying way above ADRs, above the market. How are they doing it? Because they've recognized that human need, they've recognized that emotion, they know that stories sell, they know that what actually takes, why do people take holidays? So I think that's very important for general managers when they want to create value. Please don't talk only about price, but value creation is something completely different.
And it would, I guess, relate to the nature of the asset, the purpose of the asset. I mean, a leisure versus a MICE versus an airport hotel versus a city hotel, versus just a rooms factory versus an ITC hotel with all its F&B. So I think in that context, you have to sort of vary that measurement or that focus. But yes, you make a good point there. But now let's change the kind of stakeholders. I mean, we've talked a lot about value, but there's a lot of stakeholders that we haven't talked about. One of the important stakeholders these days is the OTAs. It's a stakeholder, right? If hotels shut down completely for a moment, the OTAs will have no business. And they saw that during the pandemic, when for several weeks, there were no hotel operations. They had no business, and they lost a lot of money. Are they helpful in creating value? do they bring that balance or is it an imbalance? And if it is an imbalance, what are the other stakeholders doing to counter that? I know the answer is very difficult at this point, but is that something that should be addressed?
I mean, we'd like to call them the necessary evils in our industry, right? Like we have friction in physics. I think
It's like the interest you have to pay to the lenders, right? That's the necessary evil.
wanted
The lender
money,
is not.
yes, yeah. So, but having said that, I think if you see fundamentally, they found a niche we all hoteliers missed. I think we have to give it to them for having found that niche. We were far too long not reading the customer's need for convenience booking. I realize, I mean, I like it or not, booking.com is probably the easiest app to use. It knows if I'm booking it in the last day, it doesn't want to even take my credit card. It understands that credit card is an element of friction. If somebody were to enter his credit card number, he might change his decision. I think they found the niche, and I think at a certain level, I think it was it is at a certain level, it is like as a competition improves the breed.
Yes, I agree they found the niche. Now, what are we doing? What are the other stakeholders doing about
I
it?
think if you see the Marriotts of the world, I think their experience has improved tremendously. The Marriott app, Bonvoy, everything's improving because the OTS have come in place. Now, I think it's improving the experience for the customer. For hotels with practically no marketing, some brands and some positioning definitely survive on OTS. I think a lot of hotels would shut without OTS. So I think they've found a niche, and it's each of the operator or the owners to decide how much space they give them. So if they were to strengthen every other channel, the operator will find its place, the OTA will find its space. But if your channels of marketing are weak, OTA is just going to fill that void. So I think they've just created one more peg in the whole system.
The owner did not expect it, but they've added on to the peg of the operator.
Yeah,
Nirupa, you were making
I
a
think
point.
it's a good question to ask an operator.
I mean, operators are obviously.
Sorry, it's a good question to ask the operator or a good
About-
question to ask in operator selection.
Sorry, operator.
In operator selection.
I absolutely. I would think it troubles me to think that I'm paying two people for the same subject. So I think it's a balance which needs to be figured out.
Nirupa.
So I don't look at it that way. I think, OTAs are obviously providing value, like he mentioned, and operators see that value, and so they're willing to pay for it, or they're making the owners pay for it. Somebody is willing to pay for it. I look at it as a different source of income. All your income will not come from only one source. So the OTAs are one source. Your website is one source. Your sales team is one source. And this is just another source of income. And it's a way, even though I know all the brands sitting here, I may not have time to go to all of their websites. You know, what I'm actually paying for is the time that they're saving me. If I go to a new market, they save me the time of going to individual websites and getting all my information in one place. Like you said, they found a niche. Of course, they provide the marketing and the GDS and everything, but actually the service they're providing you is saving time and actually giving you honest feedback, or because they have the star rating. So they tell you the customer feedback. So, so they're giving you a lot of knowledge, and they're giving you a lot of time from a booker's perspective. And they're also introducing you to new brands. And there's so many other things. So I look at it as a source of income, and it's a great, I would say it's more a friend rather than a foe to the sales team.
And hotels always have a choice. They use it or they don't use it. Why do you want, if you feel that OTA is an evil, why use it if you are able to fill up your hotel without OTAs? But we need an OTA today. And I think more than OTAs today, I'm more scared about these meta search engines. I think the dominance of technology in the next few years, I think the meta search engines will be very dependent on them more than OTAs. OTAs are going to get phased out.
Yeah, I guess, Nirupa made a point, which is the value being to the customer side, not necessarily the cost aspect to the owner and the dent it makes on the owner's return. And the question always will be, is there an adequate balance for the service that they provide? Yes, they are a great service provider. As a stakeholder, are they taking an unfair balance or what? And I guess that will evolve as new competition or new sources come in. And to your point that, you know, you don't have to use them. The point is, have the other stakeholders created the options to ultimately add to the value, which today is sometimes working to the detriment of the owner stakeholder through the high costs of an OTA. Is that?
I just want to add one point to what Nirupa said. Now, in today's age, any property you go and stay, I would say each and everyone working in the property is a stakeholder. Every time you're going to, whether you go for a meal or you're going to go in for check-in, check-out, even if it's the builders, they always come back and say, please, can you review us on the platform? Could be any platform. It could be booking.com, TripAdvisor. There are many platforms there. Everyone is looking to see how we add value, not only to the property, but to the property and the person who's serving you the property. So this is what happens. You're getting more points. And people look online, as you said, you're looking at more ratings. And that way what happens is, I would say it's better publicity and a real way to judge the value the property is giving to the people.
I think we're coming to the end. So one last question to everybody. To what extent should value realization be linked to time or emotion? So let's say you're an owner of an asset and you've got a time when the valuation is just so good that if you sold the asset, your overall return on that investment would be fantastic. Often people don't do that because they're emotionally attached to the asset. How necessary is it, and I know the answer could vary person to person, how necessary is it to be cold-blooded versus being overly emotional? We'll give the lady the last word. So come on, you guys, you start.
Emotional attachment is there to every property you create. But then when the time comes, you have to, as you said, be cold-blooded, take a valued approach. And if you have to cash out, you cash out. And then you restart afresh and making new products. Unless the sale is to settle, I wouldn't like to say, but settle debts, or you have got investors to satisfy, it's a different need.
That's a different game.
it's a
Yeah, that's
different-
a different situation.
Yeah,
That's a
but
stress situation.
but
But you're saying that as a business person, it's always good to not be too emotionally attached.
Yeah, I would always say, don't be too emotionally attached. You have to look after the product well, take care of it well. But if the time comes, you have to
Bite
detach
the
yourself
bullet.
from the product and then look at again, see how you can create new value to products.
Okay, Gautam?
I mean, coming back to, looking at us being an industry, we've not been capital efficient. So for a businessman, I'm sure there are multiple options for making money. And I think when they choose a hotel, at a certain level, emotion plays a fair amount of play, right? A lot of identity attached to a hotel. I mean, while it might not be relevant for just a budget 20, 30 room hotel, but we like it or not, I think it's emotional both for the customer and also the developer. It weighs in pretty heavily
It weighs
when you
heavily.
take in
Vikram?
decision, yeah.
I think it depends on the investors, but I think the end of the day, most investors are looking for wealth creation. And when you're looking at wealth creation, of course, emotions are there and there are different asset classes. And generally, when investors get into hotels, they don't really look at hotels as their primary business per se.
So it's
they,
like gold. You store it and you think the value
Yeah,
is going to go
yeah.
up. It may not.
And always hotels has a halo effect on other businesses of the investor. So usually it rubs off on them. So I feel, I mean, most of the investors are emotionally attached to the hotel business and they would keep it because it's adding value to their other businesses. And I think that should be the
Nirupa?
So I think you'll be emotional depending on who you are. If you're a single hotel asset owner, you're definitely going to be emotional about that single asset.
Very good point.
If you have multiple hotels, you may not be as emotional, but sometimes you always have your favorite children. So you will have your favorites and you will have there might be one or two that you're emotionally attached to, only because every hotel you put in a lot of blood, sweat and tears into it. So there is emotion involved. Of course, when you're taking business decisions, you shouldn't be emotionally involved, but humans are not rational. We don't make decisions very rationally all the time. So I think it just depends on person to person, owner to owner, portfolio to portfolio. But I would say generally that while it is good to be, or rather sometimes business has to be done in a cold-blooded manner. Like I said, humans are emotional creatures and don't always act rationally. So
I think that's very well said. And what it tells you as general managers is that as you strive to create the value that we all talk about and you will define in different ways, that additional value is adding to the word halo effect or the emotional value, and not just at the ownership level, but even at the consumer level. Because if the hotel has a high sort of value reckoning, whatever it is, the market is more happy to go and be there and get a share of that halo effect, the status that it provides. So I think, and not just for the owners of the market, for all of you to be working there, to be adding that value for your employees, for your colleagues, for your associates, to be there, to have got that on their CVs. Sometimes they move too quickly, sometimes hopefully not. But I think that constant effort for value creation of different sorts, even for society, we haven't even talked about that, but we are out of time. So anyway, thank you so much. I hope that brought some value to all of you from the key stakeholders. Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you so much, panelists, for sharing enlightening views and insights on the topic. I would request all of you to kind of please be here with us. And I would now request Mr. Vibhor Srivastav and Mr. Suman Bhatia, Head Home Automation, Havells Crabtree Automation and Controls, to kindly join us here on stage to facilitate the panel. Yes, a louder round of applause will do, guys. Come on. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. What beautiful energy in this room. I love it. I request all our panelists to kind of please take the seats. Okay. Thank you so very much, ladies and gentlemen. I would now request Mr. Bhatia to kindly please stay here with us and give us a sneak peek about the Havells world. But before that, can you please take a look at the Havells AV? Can you please play the AV?
The world is getting smarter every day. In the coming years, every object and device will be connected, and we will be part of a connected ecosystem.
Over to you, sir.
Good evening. My name is Sumant Bhatia and I represent Havells India Limited. I take care of the automation and controls business. Thank you very much to ITP Media for organizing and curating this event. This is a great opportunity for organizations like us to introduce ourselves to this august company, and at the same time showcase our solutions to this the leading hoteliers and the kind of solutions that we do for you for the hotel segment. So over the next 10 minutes or so, I won't bore you with any detailed technology, but essentially we'll give you an overview or a top of the line view in terms of the kind of solutions on automation side that we have for the hotel industry, and also talk about Havells India as an organization, what we do, how big we are, and our presence across the nation. So if we look at the organization, last year we clocked 17,000 crores. So it's amongst one of the top organizations in the country with a market cap of about 80,000 crores now. We have it's a unique organization with over 20 verticals. Probably no other electrical company has this kind of range with a spread where you have solutions from inside the room or inside the home or a building to outside the building. So practically we cover a gamut of products, right from electrical distribution to power distribution to a small thing which goes into every hotel room, which is an electric kettle. So that's the kind of range that we talk about from a product portfolio standpoint. 35 branch offices in the country, over 17,000 network of dealers, a very strong dealer base, 4 R&D centers. So we are very proudly, doing a lot of R&D. We invest a whole lot of money in the research and development of our products. We have 15 manufacturing units. So 90% of whatever we sell is produced in India. It's a very strong case of make in India and very vocal for local. And we have over 7,000 employees as of this month. Our brands, some of you may not be knowing that, Lloyd, Crabtree, Standard, Rio, and Havells Studio are all Havells brands. So it's a very strong network of brands that we own with a international and a global presence of over 40 countries. So here now I won't talk about the other products because this is an event for the hoteliers, and I think guest room automation is one of the subjects which most of the big properties and even the smaller properties, budget properties, are also talking about. Why? Because one, we are able to provide higher energy efficiency when we use these kind of products. It enhances the guest experience. I think in the last session, everybody was talking about value creation. So this is one of the tools for value creation because it does enhance the guest experience drastically. And of course, from an operational standpoint, it also creates value for the property owner because it lowers the management costs. You are able to do a lot more, have centralized controls. You are able to save bills on energy. So it sort of creates hidden values for the property owner. So our solutions are essentially, it's a very wide portfolio of solutions. And it is not a one size fits all solution. We customize solutions depending on the size of property, the kind of rooms that you want to do. So be it a double room or a twin room, deluxe suites or presidential suites, we have solutions specifically designed for such rooms. The key strength of our solution is the ability to, integrate with most of the brands of GRMS which are available, or property management solutions which you typically run. So you are able to integrate with most of the services which can be controlled centrally, be it cleaning, checkout, laundry, vehicle reservation, wake up calls, room service. So all solutions can be integrated into the property management solution.
The world is
So
getting
from here, I
smarter
just
every day.
help you,
In the coming
understand
years,
more
every
about our
object and
solution through this
device will be
video.
connected, and we will be part of a connected ecosystem where automation will play the lead role. While your businesses go global, we are trying to bring global automation into your hotel spaces as well. At Crabtree, we are helping you delight your guests by giving them the control in their hands. From in-room lighting control to setting up mood lighting, from temperature control to curtain controls, from picking their choice of music to controlling the entire room's functionality, Crabtree helps you promise sheer customer delight to your guests.
Darling, just dive right in. Follow my lead.
We are also bringing the automation technology into your retail spaces to help you and your customers have the best shopping experience. Crabtree Office Automation Solution, with its features like constant illumination, enhances productivity of your organization and also saves up to 30% of energy cost, thereby making huge savings. It also secures your offices, hotels, and retail spaces. It can also integrate with any building management system without causing any problems to the currently installed systems. Join the future wagon as we at Crabtree are adding smart automation and energy efficiency to every object and design in your surroundings. Come, be a part of the future today.
So before I end, I would also like to, dwell a little time on this slide. This is essentially a slide where we talk about a lot of solutions for properties which are already built up, and their age is not allowing them to change. When you go into a renovation, a lot of times you end up taking decisions which are quite costly, because if you don't want to change the wires but still want to upgrade the switches, you want to upgrade to smart switches. So there are solutions in now with Havels where we have retrofit solutions where if you're renovating a property, if it's a budget property which needs to be uplifted, upgraded, or you are wanting to upgrade from analog switches to smart touch switches without having to tear up the wiring, we have solutions for that. We also have products which are in the standalone sensors, kind of products which are very cost efficient, help you save a lot of energy. These can be used across in the back office areas, common areas, and extensive range of face plates and for our switching solutions, which can actually completely uplift the interiors of your room. So with that, I come to an end of my presentation, and I would, my team is here. We have a small display area outside. So whenever you step out during the breakaway sessions, or once the presentations are over, please do drop by, and we'll be happy to showcase our solutions and answer any questions that you would like to have. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Bhatia. And now, I would like to invite on stage Mr. Shiva Prasad Gangadharan, Chief Sales Officer, Hotelier, to share a little bit about his organization and the work. Please put your hands together and let's welcome him on stage. So this is next. This is the previous slide.
Okay.
So good evening, everybody. Thank you, Hotelier India, for this opportunity. What we are going to talk about today is leveraging cloud. So how cloud has enabled hoteliers across the globe to do a lot of things better. I mean, we heard the panel. There are a lot of things they had raised up. I think that moving to cloud has enabled a lot of changes. One of the main reasons is that the technology world itself has changed. Right? You have got earlier servers, large server rooms where everything has moved into mobile devices. So the technology, the change in technology has enabled this transition. The travel technology provider landscape has changed. You have got thousands of them, right? How do you get all of them to, how do you get manage all of them in a single click? So you can actually manage all of them in a mobile, right? Travelers actually go 90% of travelers actually go and see online reviews before they book a room, whether it be and they also go and check prices across different websites, right? They might go to a Meta now, or they might go into 4 websites. So the way travelers book have changed. So hotels understanding of how travelers book, how customers decide on booking the room, all of this requires a greater understanding now. And technology has been enabled now that you can do this with a single click of a button. Right. So things scale, right? I don't know if you.
It's on.
So you saw the football video earlier. That was us, right? 70,000 rooms, 22,000 check-ins happening a day. We did that across one of the largest events in the world. We'll play the video maybe again after the presentation. So that was done across 4 months. And it was COVID time. So all of the implementation happened from Noida office, where our development center is based. Hotels have come to us and started asking us that we want to, from the time we take the hotel, we want to go live in 2 days. Earlier implementation, setting it up used to take 2 months for a hotel to go live with the PMS, right? Now they want to go live in 2 days. They want the hotel to start making money within a period of time. I think Vikram spoke about adding more hotels. So the speed at which people are adding hotels, right? You can take a lot of examples, Sribos, Oyos, all of them, right? The speed at which they are adding hotels, I think, is because of the power of cloud, that they can go live that fast as soon as they take up a hotel, right? A lot of requirement for centralization. Everybody wants to control all data from the corporate office. Decisions are taken at the corporate office, making the units much more profitable with lesser decision-making required at that end. Cost effectiveness and massive volumes, right? Crunching all this data. Earlier, I got a slide which shows, what it would have cost to do this 10 years back and what it will cost to do it now. I think we have got IoT devices. We have got Olive Living here. I think Jigit and Dhruv are here. They have gone live with contactless check-in in their hotels. They control a lot of IoT devices from central location. So there are a lot of things which are happening. A lot of hotels use contactless. A lot of them are using automated RMs. All this was there in the 5-star hotels earlier, right? A lot of you are from the 5-star background. I am an ex-Oracle. I was heading Oracle Hospitality for almost 5 years for South Asia region. We have been able to provide all this to hotels across the globe at a much cheaper cost because of the power of cloud. If it was not cloud, then all of this would not have been possible to do. Right now, people are talking about blockchain, AI, ChatGPT, facial recognition. We are working on facial recognition with some of our customers. I think we have some 5,000 installations across 100+ countries. All of this managed remotely. We don't have people anywhere in the globe, right? All of this is managed from either Bangalore or Delhi. And that cloud, the power of cloud has helped us to do this. Now, I was talking about the cost. You know, my average deal size was $200,000 in Oracle. Now we sell at maybe $8 per room. And when I say $8 per room, that's not in India, right? If you go to Indian hotel, they will maybe say 8 rupees per room, right? So, and without cloud, this would not have been possible. And whatever earlier was possible in the installing so many servers, putting so many things in place, now you can do that without having any server, just your mobile across all your hotels. So that was what we wanted to convey, how cloud has enabled a lot of players to provide the services which were at much higher cost, at a very low cost across to thousands and thousands of hotels across the globe. Thank you.
It live. But for us, it's a matter of honor to make their stay a memorable one. We are Hotelier, a powerful hospitality management platform, powering 50,000 plus rooms, 500 plus properties, all under one multi-property deployment. Hotelier, proud to be the technology backbone of hotels, serving millions of global fans.
Thank you so very much. So moving on, ladies and gentlemen, can we please take a look at a partners AV for Snap It Bread, Ecolab, and Cecil Glass.
How do we protect what is vital to life in an ever-changing world? At Ecolab, we partner to make the world cleaner, safer, and healthier, helping customers succeed while protecting people and the resources vital to life. Together with our customers, we help prevent the spread of pathogens and safeguard the sustainability of our future. To create communities where people are healthy, our planet is respected, and businesses can thrive. For the past 100 years and for generations to come, at Ecolab, we are protecting what's vital.
As industries evolve and strive to do more with less, count on Ecolab to help you optimize, protect, and delight. With optimized operations, we help improve efficiencies and deliver consistent results. We help protect reputations, proactively working to safeguard your brand and alleviate customer concerns. Cleaner and safer environments lead to delighted guests, customers, residents, students, and staff. Ecolab is here to help power your performance so you can deliver for your customers, providing a safe, healthy, and unbeatable experience.
How do we protect what is vital to life?
Ladies and gentlemen, may I request you all to can please put your hands together for all our partners. Thank you so very much. We now move on to the last panel discussion of the day, innovation in disruptive landscape, to hear from the leaders driving multiple properties across regions about how they have pivoted to maximize operational efficiency, elevate the guest experience, source and retain talent, reduce cost, and face challenges. Can please have a round of applause as I call on stage Mr. Ajit Singh Garcha, Area General Manager, APJ Surrender Park Hotels. Mr. Javed Ali, Senior Regional Director, Operations, South Asia, Radisson Hotels Group. Mr. Madhav Sehgal, Vice President and GM, the Leela Palace Bangalore, Leela Palaces Hotels and Resorts. Mr. Ram Maheshwari, Vice President, Markets, IHCL. Mr. Sanjay Kumar Das, Area Director, Operations South, Lemon Tree Hotel. And of course, the session moderator, Mr. Jatin Khanna, Chief Executive Officer, Sarava Hotels and Resorts. Can you please have a round of applause for all our gentlemen on the panel?
Good evening, everyone, and thank you. I'm not sure if we're covering all the questions what was said earlier, but before we start, Javed, congratulations on Sonmarg. We did this morning, so that will be another question which we'll ask. So, before we start, past 2 years, disruptive landscape, we've heard this word, and I think our industry has always dealt with disruption in their own way, recession, or any other, COVID or other stuff which happens. So let's focus on the word innovation. And let me start with all the panelists with a simple question. 1 word or 2 words, not beyond that. And then we'll kickstart. What does innovation mean for you? Go ahead. Anybody.
Thanks. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Innovation to me would mean being creative in a meaningful manner. Sorry, that's more than 1 word, but.
Okay, so creative. All right, meaningful we'll leave to discuss later. Go ahead, Madhav.
So creative, yes, of course, right? And then maybe you could add to creative and just say a high level of ideation
the ability to ideate. If I was to say one word, would be ideate.
Okay, all right. Ram?
I think in our industry, I would put my money on reimagining, things.
So
And
creativity, reimagining, ideation, three words we picked up. Sanjay?
I think according to me, it is solving problems, your day-to-day problems that are there, and being more efficient in how we do things.
Okay, so solving problems. Ajit?
I think creating efficiency in the system, understanding which are the areas which could be done in a shorter time, in a lesser cost. So that is what innovation solves in a hotel environment, I would feel.
Okay, so if I pick up creativity, ideation, efficiency, some of those words, and if I just focus on creativity and ideation, and we're all hoteliers, we've all come up the ranks, we've worked in different brands. My first question to all of you, and you can go one by one, we can start with Ajit first. We as an industry have evolved over years, and maybe with Ram over 100 years, Hilton over 100 years, Marriott 93 years, so much of, experience and so much of history. What has happened to the food innovation and service innovation in our industry? Where has that gone? And anybody can answer any. Ajit, you want to start with that?
Yeah, I think it's quite a brilliant question because I think as a hotel industry, we've probably fallen behind when it comes to food innovation. It has been taken up by the startups. And in my own opinion, the reason is that we as hotels do not focus on one specific a restaurant business as a standalone does, because we as hotel managers or restaurant managers do not look at the cost of real estate or the rentals which a standalone property has to pay. We are happy with what we are doing, not considering. So we just don't innovate. We are just, I think, happy in our spaces.
Okay, so you're kind of saying, okay, there's no food innovation, service innovation happening at this stage at least.
Much lesser than what should have been there. I think the space is being given away to standalone.
I feel, there's something to be said for old favorites. And if that's what the guest wants, that's the ability to deliver that well and consistently is in itself pretty good. But talking about innovation, what our group's doing is trying to centralize production, not in India as yet, but likely to come, and of some of the greater states, if you like, and for efficiency of scale, time, such that it's finished at the hotel when it's about to be served, and manage some of the, the technique and talent and safety that's required while delivering food that should taste the same, as good as it was any time that you had it. So that's part of that. There's of course a reassurance to the guests in terms of quality, and there's a reassurance to the hotel in terms of cost management and safety. And of course, it goes that goes to various stakeholders, but nascent stages for India, but likely to roll out, I think, in the next year or so, hopefully.
Okay, so you're saying India is next year or maybe year after that, something you will see. All right, Madhav, what do you think?
So it's evident that hotels have sort of fallen short in the evolution of the food journey as compared to startups of standalone restaurants, and which have really scaled in faster, quicker service, quicker production, etc. And there are many reasons why that's probably happened, including old favorites, as well as maybe us just not being responsive enough to technology overall. Yesterday, I was having a conversation with our earlier executive chef, now director of operations, Zafar, and he and I were sort of arguing about when will AI take over production of food in a kitchen. And Zafar is like, no, it's not going to happen, boss. It's never going to happen. A chef is always going to be the one to cook. You will never be able to get it right. And I'm like, but bro, look at what's happened over the last 100 years. How you're producing food today is very different than what it was earlier. And you travel abroad, the value of the chef is not what it used to be, even in that sense. So this is going to be interesting to see how it progresses. I think our chefs will definitely want to hold on to their knives and their caps and hold fort in the kitchen. But you won't be able to make food with love and with the vibration and energy and passion which is required for it to taste good. So there will be an induction of AI, there will be an induction of more tech versus what has already happened, and more so in India, I think, and in Indian hotels. And if we don't, already we are seeing the lag between us as well as standalones. That lag and that delta is going to increase further. So the need of the hour is therefore upon us and our chefs to embrace the technology, which is going to be, which is already here, but not harnessed yet by us, I think.
Okay, great. Ram, what do you think?
So your question has multiple dimensions, and I'm going to try to be short and crisp about it. I think first of all, for Ajit to make that comment, he's being very modest about, because I know him from Park days in Calcutta, and I think they were leaders in F&B there, for a different TG, of course. So coming back to this, I think we've not fallen behind. It depends on what we were looking for, what were our objectives. So if you look at the commercial side and perhaps the creative side, on the commercial side, it's been more than a few decades ago that we used to consider F&B as just a facility for the resident guests. I think we've come a long way. I mean, we look at profitability, we look at ROIs, we look at how restaurants are performing. We re-energize restaurants, we refresh them, we change them. So I think we do that very well. And on the creative side, I think all of us are we have a different TG. The standalone target audience is different and our objectives are different. And from that perspective, I think we're doing very well. We can think of between us and the ITCs and the Marriotts, at least scores of marquee restaurants over the years. So I think we've done pretty well on that front. And I think we're just getting better and better. So it depends on what we want and what we are out to achieve. The standalones have a different objective and we have a different objective.
Sure, I think that makes for a very interesting conversation over a drink, whether we agree with Ram or not. But Sanjay, what do you think?
I think, the design aspect of restaurant and a hotel lacks because it's already built, it's already there, it's already existing now. The new hotels should look at having the approachability like a free, the restaurants that are there. So that people come in freely, openly, and dine over there. So approachability is not lacking in our hotels that are there. So I think there is a lot to do in hotels in terms of designing as an individual outlet to make it profitable. And always we were doing the best food and we can recreate the food. The chefs are there, right? I think the design is most important in building a great restaurant.
Okay, we'll come to the design part later, but obviously you touched upon Sanjay earlier by saying solving problem. For me, innovation is not about inventing something new every time, but also solving problem in a new way. We've had the first question on a very high level. Let's get to the nuts and bolts. Give one example how anything innovative you've done or your company has done in the last 12 to 24 months, which has really helped you propel your business or processes or performance or product in any way. You can pick up anything, unless it's a sensitive information, but anything you can pick up. You can go ahead, Sanjay.
So Lemon Tree, as a company, has adopted hiring of opportunity deprived Indians, which means hiring people with speech and hearing impaired, hiring asset survivor, hiring intellectual disabilities team members. We train them and they contribute, they are approximately 15% of our total hiring. So it's very, very innovative and it has reduced our attrition rate because these are team members don't even go. They take slightly a longer time to get trained, but they are very much with us for many, many years. I think this is absolutely innovative and it helps solve the problem of finding the right resources to work with us. And our guests and our people, team members are more patient with them when dealing with them, and our guests love them every time.
Okay, great. Thank you.
As a company, for us,
We've gone into retail. I mean, we have sub brands like Flurries, which have opened outlets in Bombay. They've opened multiple outlets, retail outlets in West Bengal. Our brand Someplace Else, where we probably first met, me and Ram, that is opened in Bombay now. So we've gone out of the hotel spaces and got into the retail space. And also in terms of efficiency, I think in the past 24 months, which were tough months, a lot of relook was done in terms of efficiency of the hotel. And one of the aspects was obviously HLP. So we looked at, changing our reliance on uh, uh, fuel. So we got into heat pumps, electric heat pumps, which brought down the energy cost substantially. And when I say substantially, it kept us at around 6%, 5%, which is very good as per industry standards.
Madhav, anything?
Yeah, I mean, in the last 2.5, 3 years for Leela Palaces Hotels and Resorts, we've had a major influx of technology. The launch of our brand new website to new cloud-based servers to manage our property management systems. We've got major induction of software upgrades, etc., across, including finance and so on and so forth. But connecting the question back to the earlier point, a great example of innovation in the food and beverage space was a venue we opened here, which is called ZLB 23. It's a speakeasy bar in a traditional luxury old heritage palace hotel, which connects with the next generation, hidden through the heart of the hotel, known for music, prohibition cocktails, fabled food, and incredibly different to what anybody would have sort of envisioned as a F&B venue, almost like a standalone within a traditional old palace hotel. So a simple example of innovation, creativity, ideation, and all of those things coming to life with the bones of a real hotel operating system.
For us, it was a bit of a, let's say that we didn't start off on the right foot, but there are 3 or 4 things that have worked. One is the brand of traditional Indian sweets called Meetha, which Meetha by Radisson is something that's worked for us in the retail space. We tried to run it from the hotel space and it didn't work that way. But as as a retail venture, that produces 2.5 times more than a conventional restaurant, which in itself is a bit flabbergasting. But that's the truth. So we feel, and the valuation of that brand is likely to be big ticket, and there are more opening up, and we've just opened in Bombay. So that happened by, let's say, trial and error, but intuition first and some creativity. And of course, great skill of the chefs who are involved in that. So that was one. There are other things that came as a result of restrictions placed. So people were traveling in their own cars, in the comfort of their own vehicles, and we have a large proliferation of hotels in the country. And so we realized that road trips was something good. So Radisson Road Trips is working very well for us. We have hotels usually in tier 2, 3 markets, but drivable distance from major metros and even amongst themselves. So that cross-pollination works well. There has also been, we realized, we needed to stitch together the efficiencies that were latent in the size of the hotel, sharing of talent, clustering of manpower, sales, and so on. So these are things that have worked and continue to work.
Okay. Should I go to the question, or can I get Sanjay and Ram if you want to say anything in that?
I mean, quickly, some of those have happened as well. I think for us, the last few years have been, as I mentioned, it was reimagining a lot of stuff at IHCL, and you heard a lot of them. I think from the ones that I can remember, some brand building campaigns like She Remains a Taj, to Dekho Apna Desh, to some really strong commercial campaigns like the Drivecation. We called it the 4D, which was fairly innovative because we proactively anticipated the customer needs then. And but what to me stood out were, I think, largely 3. One was launching the homestay segment, getting into the homestay segment, which is the Ama Stays and Trails. And we're already 117 as we speak. So that was one. And then, of course, reimagining Chambers and all of that. And then the second bit was human. For me, human was perfect technology as well. I mean, it's not something completely innovative because there are hundreds of people doing it. And there were a lot of people doing it then. But basically, virtually, the TCS team, the Tata Digital team and IHCL, not even one physical meeting during COVID, we put together an app. That was a big achievement. And I think finally for us, the biggest has been Tata New, the New Pass bit, because it's a super app. It's a Tata initiative, but then we're a founder member there. So we're talking of taking our membership from a few lakhs to 30 million now. It's a super app integrating almost all Tata companies, the key ones. Our own memberships have increased. The Taj memberships have increased from about 1.8 million to 4.6. So I mean, in the regular organic way, we wouldn't have reached there. So I think for us, these three stand out amongst all the other, innovations.
Right. No, I think human and Tata New app, absolutely. So is the Tata New app also helping you increase your conversion for bookings within the IHCL portfolio?
Oh, yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So listen, I think if you pick up any publication in probably past 12, 18 months, everybody will talk about, every brand actually would talk about tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 markets, getting into those markets. And that's where the growth is. And, everybody's coining the new term saying this is the real Bharat and not the India and all. So my question is literally more for Sanjay, Ram and Javed, because that's where, we have been, as in you have been expanding. Madhav had brought technology in his last answer. You talk about tier 2, tier 3. How do you take technology or innovative ideas or innovative product designs to these markets, which are very, very cost conscious? Because these are small hotels, still not mainstream, rates are low, GOPs may be low. How do you do that? How do you encapsulate all that in your, pitch when you're selling it to the owners or whatever you're doing? Javed?
Okay, we've been, I think, back about 25 years ago, the first movers into tier 2 and 3, and perhaps even 4. But some of our operations, the most sizable ones, are in tier 2 and 3. So I don't think location is an inhibitor or a deterrent. So they can afford it. So they go for the full fat version. But for those operations that are not of that size, there are two ways of handling it. One is, use the cloud and use a light version of it. So of the tech. So it fulfills the purpose and is, say 1/3 the cost roughly, both in terms of the hardware cost, training cost and other stuff. So that's how we've done this. What this has done actually is freed up a lot of mind space for teams to be more creative and go about putting together experiences that personify what the brand wants to stand for. And I think that's another vertical. There are talented people who have the space now to deliver, say, an experience that is typified of a Radisson, and of course draws on the locale as well. But tech per se, acceptance and also centralization, as I was saying, clustering. So say revenue management, learning and development. These are things that are easy to do and are very effective. And you take it away from the hotel and you do it for them. And then if you're handling a number of hotels in the same, let's say, with overlapping catchment areas, then it just becomes easier to manage and drive proper value to these hotels.
Ram? Sorry, Sanjay, you go ahead. Go ahead, Sanjay.
So is it very difficult to convince a developer? I must admit that. But Lemon Tree is known for the cost benchmarks that we have. And across 90 hotels, we are at 50% GOP that we do. So what we do is we own 42 hotels in the country. And very easy for us to showcase them to the owners, to the developers, of how we operate hotels, what are the technology that we use it, and why we use it. till they get convinced out of it. And obviously, we walk them through. If it is a new project that are there, it's a greenfield. We guide them across so that the cost initiative approach is done right at the design or the building stage that are there. So that's how we convince it.
Okay, Ram?
So we've approached tier 2, tier 3 cities differently. So one is, of course, we've taken our Ginger brand there, and we've reimagined Ginger as well. And from a budget and economy segment, it now occupies the space in the mid-scale segment. Ama, the villa homestay, the luxury homestay brand is also one such product which we intend to, which is taking us into tier 2, 3 cities. One interesting bit about tier 2, 3 cities is that why did we plan to, what did we do with Ginger? Why did we reimagine it? And one of the reasons is that in those cities, we need to still create an aspirational product. It's not ready for a Taj. It may get ready at some point of time, but it's not ready for a Taj. It's probably okay for a Vivanta or a Ginger and similar other products in that scale. But they still need to be the Taj for that city. And therefore, that Ginger then occupies a higher space, and it occupies the mid-scale to upscale segment. So the question that you asked is actually flipped the other way, that you don't really go with a lean product there, but you may have to go with a slightly better aspirational product, even for a smaller brand.
Okay. See, if it's working for you, it's absolutely good. My next question more for Madhav and Ajit. You spoke about new bar design and you spoke about getting into retail space. How do you think it's helping you in your day-to-day operations? Has it really, helped you innovating design, what you're doing? You don't have to get through numbers, but is it really helping your business and day-to-day operations? And do you think that's what the tomorrow should be, where designs really get captured into when you're building hotels or renovating hotels?
So for a traditional luxury brand, the evolution of design is done very cautiously. Unlike maybe a younger brand or a more international commercial brand, which has a little bit more play from what they're seeking. So for us, the Bible of the core ethics of our design fundamentals evolves and evolves with times, but it can't leave the basics of the Indian true luxury hospitality, which is the ethos of our brand. So keeping that as a base, the major influx is on tech and in our rooms, in our kitchens, in our operating systems that I spoke about earlier. So the imbibing of technology is the most critical thing for us right now, which is what I referred to earlier when we said we've got the new servers and all the tech which is introduced there. On the fundamentals of design beyond big box hotels as such, in terms of F&B, I give you the example of our Speakeasy and ZLB, and which is more of a progressive, innovative mindset in terms of future-proofing your F&B and building relationships in the market at the same time. It's a tighter walk for us, is what I would say when we work with our design and the concept of our rooms and the layout of our rooms overall.
Ajit?
Design is a very integral part of Park Hotels. I mean, a lot of people would know that too. We are known for urban boutique designs. When it comes to the question which you asked, I mean, there are two different things. Someplace else is upper scale luxury brand, which is a upscale mall in Bombay, and it basically has given us a new revenue stream. And the success of that makes us confident to grow that brand much faster now. And Flurys would be something like Sir said, Mithai. Flurys now in the past 2 years, the way we have opened outlets in smaller malls, airports, and other locations in primarily in West Bengal, but also in Bombay now, and we plan to go pan-India, has actually started doing in terms of top line more than some smaller hotels. So it's a great option to grow very fast.
Okay, I'm going to steal a question from our last panel, if you don't mind, Mr. Tucker. He brought about a point on OTAs. Okay. And I was honestly dying to give a reply to that or give my inputs at that. What do you guys think? Will we ever regain that ground which we've conceded to OTAs? Because in my opinion, OTAs are something tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, tier 1 market. You cannot live without them. Will we ever be able to regain, or any of your brands are investing in that kind of technology where you'll probably be doing certain things which are more innovative and earth-shattering?
Okay. Yeah, both. Yes to both. One is, when I say yes to both, I mean that OTAs are partners is the way I see them, or we see them. We are present in many places where we're the only game in town, and it's usually a good game. So, they need us in some places as well. It's not just the other way around. So there is certain amount of leverage available there. There's no doubt that OTAs with their reach have a level of, the strength of distribution is something that I don't know if any hotel brands as at this point anywhere in the world has been able to match any of that. So, and so that's a different thing altogether. I think we should see them as partners. And if you have the right level of distribution or presence, I think it's a strength, and you can draw on each other's strengths. So we work with them as partners. That's the way I see that. Now, as far as developing your own capability and driving, share to brand.com, if you like, there is innovation there as well. So we have multiple brands, all of us do, I think, most of us, at least international brands will have many, even, Indian brands will have. So what happened was we realized that it was going all over the place. So there's a consolidation was one, that you have one Radisson.com website. The other is a point and click. And that's something new, where pretty much like you choose an airline seat, you can choose a hotel room, you know what price it is on any day of week or whatever it be. So, and you can even drill down inside, see the room, the actual room, what it looks like, what the window view is, what the furnishings are like, and have a 360 before you select the room that you want to stay in. And so that's the level of sophistication, and even meeting rooms for that matter. Meeting room configurations, what it looks like, interior decor, and what capabilities it has. So that's the next, and about to soon to be rolled out. I think it's done. It's on pilot run for a couple of hotels at this point. So that's also getting done. But in terms of sheer reach of, OTAs, I don't think that that's going to work. It's a question of supply and demand, ability, the capability of those OTAs, and they charge a fee for that. And sure, they're delivering to you as well. And, if you can try and convert them, and every hotel chain does that.
So it's such a relevant question to the discussion of innovation, right? Because OTAs have been able to beat hotels overall in the context of imbibing technology so much better and so much faster than what we have. Embracing innovation and technology in food, the opening question, my view standpoint on that was that we have not moved fast enough. On OTAs and technology for revenue management, we've been even slower. Airlines beat it to us 30 years ago. OTAs beat us in the last 20, 25 years. Most brands in the world, and if I take the liberty to hazard a guess, or say in the low 2 digits, if that, for the production of what their original core websites are producing for them. And OTAs are providing a platform for multiple services, multiple benefits beyond just hotel stay, right? And they're doing the whole FPH combinations, etc. There are a lot of revenue leaders in the room. I'm sure they'll have interesting thoughts on this. But I don't see anything in the near future which is going to give them a run for their money from the brands, unless the brands get together and form a cartel and say that, no, we're just going to outright.
I'm sure we're not discussing that. Ram, you're the biggest operator. And obviously you are in right from metros to leisure to pilgrimage to everywhere. What's your take? Are you guys doing anything as the torchbearer to do something to get that space back from OTAs?
So pretty much echoing his views. For me, I mean, I've been in sales and marketing for a while. Distribution and channel strategy is not a zero-sum game. Everybody adds value. So you move something out of OTA, it comes to brand.com, everybody would add value. So it's not a zero-sum game. So they're partners, they give us reach and distribution, which is critical. Having said that, we're all working towards it. We have local level initiatives, hotel level initiatives. We want to strengthen our brand.com. We want to strengthen our loyalty program. one of the objectives of Tata Neu is to, well, I'm almost tempted to say fight the menace, because that's what we're sort of talking about, but I don't believe in it. But we've been able to take our numbers to brand.com, the percentages, the contribution has doubled. And the numbers have quadrupled because the denominators increased as well. So I think we're heading the right direction. We'll probably, as our loyalty programs and our brand.coms, I mean, the reach gets better. I think our dependence on them will probably go down further.
You know, my only take on that before I let Sanjay and Ajit give their comment, numbers doubling through brand.com could also be because you're opening more number of new hotels. It's exactly like your GDP conversation, that what is really happening with GDP, is it really growing or not? But that's my take.
Both share as well as absolute numbers.
Right.
Absolute numbers have quadrupled. The share has now gone into high double digits. You're right. I mean, pretty much everyone's pretty much in the double digits, ranging from probably 11 to 20 or whatever.
Right.
But we're happy with the progress, I think. Yeah.
So technology helps. We launched our website about a year and a half ago. It was a new website for Leela as a group. And immediately after the tech interface and our ability to showcase rates with OTAs on our website, when you're browsing and searching, we would sort of instantly show you where the OTAs are also pegged at right now. And the fact that you're getting a better benefit by booking with us directly has helped produce better numbers overall for us.
Just to add, we all know about that billboard effect, right? And you do need your presence to be there as well. And if basically you have best rate guarantees on website, your website is as good as they are, as conveniently, bookable as they are, then you probably will be able to move some business back to you.
See, my other sense is, there's brand, of course, there's brand.com and of course that, and then there's also brand influenced. So if you look at brand and brand influence together, which is not OTA, non-OTA type business, it can range up to 50 and beyond. And I think portfolio wide, it will be in the much higher range. It'll be, well, still in the 40s or thereabouts. Of course, it depends on location and what your strength is there. I know of operators in Goa who will not sell on OTAs because they have the pull on their own. So if you have that sort of a location, good for you. And it does matter where you're located and the value delivery through that itself is there. And if you're in a place where you're heavily dependent on them, or a very crowded market space, then I think you then will have to accept this and learn to manage that.
Ajit, anything you want to add to all these comments?
Yeah, sure. I mean, from my perspective, see, OTA is technology. It's a channel partner, and it is something which gives you filling up of last mile occupancy. So it is, in my experience of working in hotels for so many years, I think what OTAs has done for most of the hotels is that the occupancies have gone up. Even when the hotels have gone up, it is because of the OTAs now that's my belief that hotels do 75, 80%, 85% occupancies. They wouldn't have done those occupancies if OTAs were not there. So, and also, what is the percentage they're charging? I think they're charging anywhere between 12% to 18%, depending on the hotel size or whatever. But that was a similar percentage you were paying to travel agents and anybody else earlier on, or even you're paying now through GDS in terms of reservation fee and everything else. So they definitely are helping the hotel industry to grow. I don't think hotels can open up so much faster if OTAs weren't there. Somebody spoke about cloud computing. Sir was talking about how a hotel can be opened in two days time and how the hotels can start selling in 2 days time. That is only because of OTAs. Earlier on, probably for 1 year, you wouldn't make profits, but now you can start a hotel and start at 60% occupancy. So definitely a friend, I would feel.
Sanjay, anything you want to add to that?
I think it's another source of income that you have. So we just need to maximize it, and it's understanding of your demand and supply that is there. So it helps us to increase your revenue as well and add up another sources that are there. And in terms of visibility that is there, I think it's a fantastic platform to showcase our product.
Right. My take on this is something similar, but it's a mix. Having been in this industry for over 2 decades, having worked with international brands. My take was something similar. Are we fighting the menace? Is that the evil which we need to be with? And I think last 18 months have really shown me what OTAs do for you. And in my opinion, they're absolutely great partners. And my myth that OTAs want to drive your rate down got completely busted after we saw that we as a company, Sarovar, is growing 45% on ADR year on year, along with OTAs in that. So my take is a little different, but I'm glad that we did this question and it had so much of interest from all of you. You spoke about website, you spoke about Tata Neo app. I really want to ask you, are we really getting into a space where we will look at experiential selling, look at Netflix? Your screen, my screen looks different. Look at Uber, what they do. Or our websites or AI-powered chatbots are just doing basic machine learning or just basic conversations with customers. Are you really moving into that space, or we're still? I know you said we've already considered to airlines long back. Having said that, on revenue management, I'm talking pure revenue management, because if you do experiential selling or you do total hotel revenue management, you will always make more money. I know we are not doing anything like that, but you guys are big boys of this industry. Are you guys doing anything like that?
Well, yes, there is, our brand is developing its own property management system. So it has three components mainly. One is, of course, that's what it is, property management. And on the front end, there is the revenue management, and at the back end, there's a MIS as well. On top of all that is also a customer relation CRM portion. So the expectation or what's working, and it's rolled out in other parts of the world, hasn't yet come to India. But it has the ability to at least map what the guest wants in various locations. In a business or a leisure location, same guest has different requirements. It manages to do that. Now, when you say AI, I think you're trying to also predict. So in that sense, if you think of Netflix and you've seen a bunch of movies, it tends to, recommend the similar types. So if that's the case, I think may manage to do that. Whether that's a virtue, I don't know. Because sometimes you really you want something else. So I think the intelligence of it needs to be figured out. But the tech is already there in terms of asking or knowing where the customer is going, what is he like. So what's the setup going to be for him, if he's for business, in transit, or for conference, or for a leisure with family, XYZ. That portion is already there. The predictive part of it, I think as hoteliers, we don't need too much of it. I think there's a certain amount of human intuition also that needs to play in. And I think that's the fun of discovery and the fun of experience. And there's nothing wrong in getting it and not the way you want it, but it turns out that you like it. So I don't think that we should go completely crazy over artificial intelligence in that zone. I think I would look at tech as an enabler for experiences. So if it's routine and if the decision making is involved, then the more scientific it is, the better the quality, and the better you predict. It's able to predict the future for you. It just reduces number of surprises which are unpleasant. But otherwise, there's something to be said for pleasant surprises. Why not? And that's what this is about, and that's the fun of hoteliering as well. I enjoy that. And I'm sure the guests enjoy it as well. When I'm a guest, I enjoy that as well. That's my sense.
Okay. Ram, do you want to take that? Tata Neo app, biggest operator?
Well, at the moment, the AI bit, the chatbot is doing basic booking. We're not there as far as experience selling is concerned. I think we are working on our new website and we will have to build in that capability, but it is not just about the website. It's got to be the CRS as well and all of that. So I don't think we're yet there. I mean, to some extent, we do a little bit of AI related still, but that's more intrusive when we do digital campaigns and we do remarketing and we do, we sort of do Insta and Facebook lookalike campaigns and all of that. So that's the only AI bit that we do, and we shove them those ads and the cookies follow them and all of that. But I don't think we're yet there.
Sanya, I was on a panel with Vikram when he was talking to us about superhero and what you guys are doing. Is that going to change your world?
So we partnered with BCG, the largest consulting firm in the world, and the digitization mode that we have. So we are working with the revenue management system now, as of now, and people are have started utilizing it in few pockets of our in the country, and we are finding value because they guide you, they give you information, they give you data to take decisions. Using of AI, I'm not very sure about in coming year or so, but I think yes, that's the path that we're going to take.
Madhav, Ajit, anything you guys want to add?
I mean, I don't think we are going to choose AI. AI will choose us. That is important to understand over a period of time. Secondly, I mean, technology wise, from a size of company we are, like Ram also again said about Tata new app being done by TCS. They have a backing of a company like TCS to do it. For other hotel companies, we operate hotels and we need to adapt technology and take the technology which is available. And that is what we're doing all the time. So I don't think there is for a hotel group like us to look at creating a platform ourselves. There are platforms available and you choose the best platform as per your needs. In terms of AI, we've recently tied up with Engage AI, which is an AI platform wherein the guest will start the conversation. So it will not be intrusive for the guest, but it will be kind of a one-point contact, which will work on business WhatsApp, which will allow us to upsell and everything. So I think it's important to be aware of what are the new technologies and what are the new things which are happening in and around and adapt them as fast as possible to get the first mover advantage. That would be my take on it.
Madhav, anything on your new website?
It's a year and a half old, but yes, see, the opportunity to create an experiential booking journey for the guest exists. On to the earlier point about on your own booking tools, and OTAs are already doing it. The personalization, the opportunity to create personalization is there, and for us to use, we are not using it right now. I think as an industry, a lot of the personalization is dependent on the operating management systems at the units, where they derive data and then they do personalization basis previous stay history. The interface of that with your online portal and communication at the booking time should improve the booking experience as well as the overall operational efficiency for the asset being booked. And I think plenty of room to work on over there for all of us.
Okay, so I'm glad that we're all thinking alike, that there's a lot of room to improvise in that. Sustainability, that's the new buzzword. So let me ask you a very simple question. Try and stick your neck out if you want. Otherwise, we all know what's the best answer would be. Sustainability, green initiatives. Do you really think it's helping companies be more innovative, or is just kind of just a fashion statement for your RFPs or carbon footprints, which you have to put over there? Are we genuinely serious and it'll innovate our industry? Anybody who wants to take this?
I think it is happening very fast and it is happening wherever there is a cost benefit. So if you have a cost benefit and it is a sustainable thing, 100% you're going to do it. I mean, people have started taking EVs now. An EV car costs you 3 rupees per kilometer, while a regular one is 10, 12 rupees a kilometer. You are getting into bottling plants and all that, because right now when you have a bottling plant, the bottle cost is 5 rupees or 4 rupees, which is equivalent to a Bisleri. So sustainability will happen wherever it's giving a cost advantage. And the time has come now where everybody is looking at saving the environment, and things are moving very, very fast, and people are also becoming very conscious. As per booking.com, actually 71% of people worldwide, they choose a hotel which is a sustainable hotel or which has sustainable initiatives. So I think it's gonna, we're gonna adopt it very, very fast, as in how it is cost effective. That is most critical, I would imagine.
So cost is the driver.
Yeah, cost is a driver. Also, the acceptability of it is also a driver, because you to be in the reckoning, you got to conform, which is in itself a virtue. I think apart from being a virtue, it also brings you into contention. Of course, the cost advantage of it and investment in the right technologies, right from building stage, and that forms a point of interest for a guest wanting to stay in the hotel. So we have hotels which are constructed of locally available materials. It's oriented in a way that it catches the light and the wind. and is thermally insulated, to battle weather and place a lower load and have alternative. There are hotels in this city that are 100% alternate energy, the one out Outer Ring Road. And there are others in the group as well. So these are things that are making business sense. So to be sustainable is not necessarily needs to be legislated into place. Inevitably it will. But I think that that business sense that Ajit's talking about just sells itself. And if you weave in interesting portions in your storytelling of hoteliering, so if you're putting up a hotel in a scenic location or a historical location, and it has these virtues, it just makes it that much more attractive and interesting to stay in and experience. That's my sense.
So similar thoughts. I think the onus is on us. Cost obviously is going to be a big factor, and the government's working on trying to make it more feasible for more and more commercial organizations to adopt sustainable practices. We own 4 windmills not very far from here, about 300 kilometers out of the city. 86% of our power is green. This has a huge repercussion down to my EBITDA and my gross operating profits by a very large number, and gives me also therefore the luxury to talk to brands internationally about our initiatives at the same time. And if we don't do it proactively and legislatively, or the mandate globally now for travel is to mind your footprints, I think so. A lot of these companies and corporate RFPs are mandating information on whether or not you have the basics in place. And that basic very soon will become carbon neutral.
Sure. Ram?
I'm going to say, I'm like a populist comment, but we've been doing this for over 100 years at the Tatas. So for us, it's not new. ESG, it's a culture. It's not about cost saving. It's not about saving the planet. It's a culture for us. And at IHCL and of course at the Tatas, we now have a structured program. So it's not just about the sustainability is ESG. So it's environmental stewardship, where we're talking of perhaps things like, net water discharge, net zero water discharge. Then we're talking of liquid discharge as zero. I mean, we'll get there. And then we're talking of the social bit, which is inclusivity. I mean, we're talking of diversity, bringing in higher, women workforce, etc. And then of course the governance bit. And we've been known over the years to have some of the best governance practices. So for us, it's not a fad. It's something we want to do, we've done over the years, and we will only put steeper targets for ourselves and achieve them.
That's great. Sanjay, anything from your end?
I think we have been doing it right from the inception in bits and pieces. Aggressively, we started doing it since last 2 years post-COVID. And we have been mapping it. We have been measuring it in all our hotels now. And also we are, getting into the renewable energy, your PNG wherever required, modifying our systems to adapt to the ESG requirement of it. In terms of the manpower, we are doing our ODI. I think we're just taking it very, very seriously about our ECG.
Just a qualifying question in yes or no. Is it difficult for you all to execute sustainable practices in smaller markets? Let's take Dindi, Rajamundry, Ranchi, Katra, smaller markets where all of you are growing and there's a lot of cost pressures and all, while cost is one driver, as you and Ajit were saying, Javed. What do you guys say, yes or no?
I think it is yes, because the city is not, the governments are not aware of the practices that are there. The cost factor is very high. So it is difficult, but we are trying to find out a way to do it.
I'm glad you say that. Ram, what do you think? You're also.
I mean, I'm sure the Pathya team and the operations team would probably know better, but I can think of a challenge that we're facing in some markets because of legislation as well as because of availability. For example, you can't get a bottling plant done. I mean, those are some challenges, I'm sure similar challenges. So I would presume that there may be some truth and some constraints in smaller markets.
Sure, I know, Madhav, it'll be difficult for you to answer because you only operate in bigger markets, but from your experience?
Yeah, so it's not easy. Takes a high level of commitment to make it happen. An example that comes to mind that I wanted to share was that a lot of hotels use a lot of flowers, right? And the weight of how much flour is consumed in one hotel can be very high. So we've got a very nice initiative we've just started where we are recycling all the flowers, and we're prototyping this in one of our hotels and converting from the flowers, creating incense sticks and recycling that in a very nice way. So reduces to the zero waste point, right? Trying to aspire to a zero waste goal. It's not easy, but this is where the fundamentals of innovation and creativity sort of come into play again.
So Javed, your initial reaction was, no, I don't agree with you.
Yeah, I know. You see, let's put it this way, that it may not be affordable at inception of a hotel, but it can be retrofitted. And where it may, when you're putting up a hotel, there's of course the pressure of getting it open. And then just as it opens, it suddenly becomes, even as somebody pressed on the expense accelerator, really hard. So it may not be affordable or make sense at that stage. I mean, makes sense commercially, it makes sense in every other way. But if the moment it becomes affordable, or the moment it becomes available, which is, let's say, energy offset, which is available in the state of Maharashtra in many locations, and everywhere we are taking advantage of it. So it makes commercial sense, but you just can't afford it at certain stage of a hotel's life. But as it wears on, or in some stages, it comes on really fast. So say in Lonavala, the affordability came pretty fast, less than 2 years. So they've got also completely alternative power source. So in certain locations, it takes a longer time, but once you're across that threshold, then it starts, the payback makes a great amount of sense.
Ajit, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, the drive towards sustainability is huge. I mean, we as a company right now are looking at a goal of another 5 years to have kind of a zero landfill policy, that nothing which goes out of the hotel goes into a landfill. So there was an example which I was seeing in US. I mean, there's a company which basically uses all the glass bottles which they get and they crush them and it makes sand and they refill the sand beaches. So things like those, we are looking at those options, but yes, it will happen over a period of time, looking at capital investments and such things.
So what I'm taking away is tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 markets, it can be difficult, sometimes due to availability, sometimes due to commercial pressure. All of us and brands sometimes are guilty to open hotels quickly and kind of bypass and then get into the retrofitting and all. But there is way for us to do it, and there's some legs still to cross that. Great. We're in the month of June. Appraisal cycle is over. None of us are going to get appraised anymore, whether you're international or your domestic brand. Financial year, calendar year, all done. Do you think your companies have an ecosystem which complements innovation? Or you have that kind of manpower or thought process? Or is it still left to a simple IT manager and looking at a third-party outsourcing? What's your take?
No, we have something called a business transformation vertical. And these are, of course, they are technical guys.
More than 100 hotels you can afford.
Yes. So why not play to your advantage? So it does work. And biggest investment and in time and money there is on tech. Obviously, to make things more scientific, easier to predict, easier to use. So that's the tech aspect. Now, what the other aspect, the other facet of this, as I was saying, is a bunch of people who are also looking at developing innovative, experiences. And these are, some aspects of it are typical. So you go to a Radisson hotel, you'll find similar fragrance, you'll find certain things at your turn down, you'll find certain things in the car that picks you up. And these gives you a sense of comfort that, these guys have, and it's based on travel empathy. Other than that, the locale also describes what kind of experiences can be offered as electives to these places. So both are getting that. Tech as well as experience as well.
So, I mean, our company's mission is leadership through differentiation. We have innovation as part of the learning and development process for the employees. There are something called innovation awards, which are given on a monthly basis for process innovations and stuff which happens on a day-to-day basis. I mean, creating moments of truth or changing moments of truth. I mean, as I said, keeping something at evening turned down. So these things are taken very seriously, and people are rewarded for the same. So innovation does play a very, very important part of Park Hotels, at least.
So the last hour has sort of validated for us the need for being innovation, and most undoubtedly we are committed to it. But we also keep in mind that we're in the people's business. So everything associated with technology and sustainability all aside, fundamentally creating a culture of innovation requires the basic human interactive innovation skills. And we focused a lot on that, and using design thinking as an example, sort of as a training tool to teach people to be empathetic. So empathy by observation, empathy by engaging in a conversation, empathy by experiencing what the guest is experiencing, then defining what the problem is in the correct way, and using the old school DOAs and empowerment tools to prototype and try something new, creates a culture of innovation, which is fundamentally going to be the bedrock of what you're doing guest facing every day, day in, day out, irrespective of the technology interface that we've got. And that remains the core focus for us as we drive true Indian luxury and sort of hospitality experiences.
Okay, Ram, anything?
Quickly, I think we are all in an industry where we don't really have a lab per se. I mean, we're in an industry where there are people and nuances get picked up, and the organization needs to have a process where that feedback gets collated, and the structure is such that it goes up to the design team, perhaps goes up to the operations heads, goes up to the brand standards team. And then we are able to then, innovate and reimagine processes, re-engineer processes, etc. So I think by and large, the organization, I'm sure all organizations are the same. Some respond to challenges with agility and they stand out. Some are able to sort of proactively anticipate custom needs and they stand out even further. But I think we've survived hundreds of, challenges over the years. So I think once this process, I think, is very, very strong. Since you mentioned the ecosystem and the org structure, this process is a very, very strong process at the Taj. And the other that has happened over the last few years, and that's come from the leadership, that there is a culture of agility and there is a culture of innovation. And we've done some so-called crazy things in the organization as well. The HR head now is somebody who was in operations. The sales and marketing head is who was in operations, never done sales and marketing. Somebody from the revenue management, the revenue manager went and became an area finance manager. I mean, after 25 years of being in sales and marketing, I'm moving into ops. So the whole idea is that you get a fresher look at things, you challenge status quo. And for me, that's the ecosystem that brings in innovation.
Sanjay, anything you want to add?
So Lemon Tree has got this three-fold approach here. One is we have all our leaders in a WhatsApp group where they can freely contribute to any innovative ideas, thought process that are there. As a culture, we are very innovative and very thinking culture that we have. Second is we have BCG, which is helping us. We have a team of our own and BCG to help us to move the digital front. The third is about ESG that we have. We have a dedicated team who is driving, measuring, and doing innovation and ESG. So that's the three approach.
Great, thank you. I think we're almost up. My take after hearing all of you, I think as an industry, we're moving in the right direction. We still have some miles to go. Good news is that we're an industry which is very agile. We've come up through a lot of disruption, whether it was 2008 to COVID to other technology which is done in our industry or outside our industry. So thank you, and I just hope that we continue this journey and keep on becoming more innovative. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Jatin, I just wanted to very quickly take a question. And now Sanjay ended up on ESG and very close to most of the hotels and industry. And being a media fraternity, we deal with the various industry vertical. I just wanted to understand from the panel between the the S and G, which is the one more important to you? I mean, all three, but don't give me a straight one. Which one is the most important to you as individuals?
E.
Mother said E, right? Okay. And if you could do another 30-second on E.
So if I don't have E, I don't have S and G, right?
Okay. With your permission, Sanjay.
E.
Say that again.
E.
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 Oh. Javed?
Just to be different, I'll say G. But, but I think that that has something to do with managing the other aspects and entirely the business per se, which acts as a regulatory mechanism, ensures an egalitarian treatment and ethics, integrity, everything that goes with it. That's my sense of it.
Sure.
I think presently for our group, sustainability is huge. I mean, that is talk of the day for us. We have a team which is working on it. So that is the most important thing right now.
Sure. Ram?
I'm going to be completely different. And for me, it's an academic question. I can't really answer it.
Okay.
So,
But at Axial, I think you have a lot of impetus on all three of it because of the legacy.
that's right. So, I mean, there was one way.
But I'll leave you on the academic part. So I don't want to labor with you. So may I ask you, Jatin?
I thought I was only supposed to ask questions. So for me,
no, I just started very intriguing. Yeah.
For me, it's G for a simple logic. That's what really builds your brand. Today we're all sitting over here. There are a lot of common practices. We can all discuss about sustainable action sets, what we're doing. But if the governance section is missing, it can be a big dent on your brand. It's also something which builds employee confidence, owner confidence, community confidence as to what you are. So for me, it's G actually.
Super. Give them a huge round of applause. Sorry for a moment. I took this one on.
Thank you so very much, panelists, for such an enriching discussion. And now it's time to felicitate our panels. And for that, may I please call on stage Mr. Shiva Prasad Gangadharan, Hotelier, and Mr. Mrigang Shivastav, VServe. Can you please put a round of applause and welcome the gentlemen on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please have a round of applause for all the gentlemen on stage? I would now request Mr. Vibhu Srivastava to kindly please join here on stage for the vote of thanks. Can you please put in a round of applause for him as well and welcome him?
No, thank you. No more applauses. I think it's been a very nice conversation that we had between the two panels. And Shalu on the red, as you can see, the curator of this event, give her a hand, and everybody in my team back there in Hotelier India. And I thank you all. I think this gorgeous city and this beautiful hotel, I can't see Gaurav Sinha, the hotel manager. I think he deserves, and his team, Mahesh, and all of them have put a spectacular show when it comes to F&B. Please go. I mean, I think you'll be floored, to say the least. So much of innovation. And somebody said, we are far from F&B, but I trust you. This evening will really, change your heart and change your thoughts. And I think people who are watching us live, we had limited capacity, limited numbers too. Our hearts are big, but seats are limited. So bear with us. I think it's been a great discussion. And Aditya Raheja, the owner of this hotel, you've always been a very gracious host. Thank you very much for making this and making Hotelier India so very warm and welcomed. And I think these discussions lead us to one another thread. And 21st of August, we go back to North Edition in Delhi at Hotel Pullman, where we're really going to pull another big one like Pullman, the big hall that they have. And I'm sure we're not disappointed to house in as many guests as they want. But I think it has been an incredible learning for me as well. And the question that I asked and labored on ESG is very close for multiple reasons, that we not only do Hotelier India, we do lots of other titles, industry verticals, some of the largest like the manufacturing. And this is the word that every industry is talking. It is more from a learning, but I thank you all once again. I think tomorrow is going to be a working day, but as promised, we have really strict to the timelines. It's 8 o'clock. Thank you. And we've been a lovely audience. Wonderful. Thanks, Satan. And thank you to Dia. She flew from Calcutta to host a show. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, that's about it, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for cocktails and dinner and some enriching discussion of the table. Thank you so very much. You have been amazing. And I really heartfully thank ITP Media for giving me this opportunity to host this event. This is Dia Das signing off. Take care. Have a great night.